Ohai. Vanuatu, the Pacific state in Melanesia. Borders on waters of the Solomon Islands, in the west, in the north, on an economic zone of Australia, in the southwest, on territorial waters of New Caledonia, in the east, on territorial waters of Fiji. Extent of a coastal strip -25.28 km. The Republic of Vanuatu is located on 83 islands of the archipelago New Hebrides. The total area of Sushi -12190 km. The population of Vanuatu -292,680 people. 2018. The capital, the city of Port Vila. Espirito Santo, discovered by the Spanish seafarer Pedro Fernandez Quiros in 1606 and taken for a part of the unknown southern earth, became the first island noticed by Europeans. In 1906, islands became condominium of Britain and France under the name New Hebrides. On July 30, 1980, islands gained independence under the name Republic of Vanuatu. Vanuatu, the member of the Union, the British Commonwealth of Nations, Francophonie, the South Pacific Commission and the Pacific Islands Forum. On August 24, 2012, the Republic of Vanuatu finally became the Dick of Toe. Modern name of the country, Vanuatu. Literally, this earth forever. It began to be used officially since July 30, 1980, when islands gained independence of Great Britain and France. Prior to this event, the archipelago carried the name New Hebrides. It was given in 1774 by the English seafarer James Cook in honour of the Hebrides located to the west from Scotland. The Melanesian state of Vanuatu represents the chain of islands of a Y-shaped form lasting from the north on the south on 1176 km. The nearest state, the Solomon Islands, is located approximately in 170 km to the north from Vanuatu, New Caledonia, in 230 km to the southwest, Fiji, in 800 km to the east, Australia, in 1750 km to the west. The area of Vanuatu Sushi is 12190 km. The archipelago consists of 14 large and 60 smaller but the inhabited islands. Generally, 83 islands are a part of Vanuatu. The most important of them are the islands of Efet, Espirito Santo, Tana and Molecula. The largest island of Vanuatu is the island of Espirito Santo, in the territory of which there is also the highest point of the country, Mount Tabamasano. 1879 m. On the islands of Ambrim, Aba and Tana mountains, which height exceeds 1000 m over ocean level, are located. The most part of islands has a mountainous relief that is caused by the movement of oceanic plates. Some islands with steep rocks are surrounded with the bordering coral reefs. To the west from the archipelago, the oceanic hollow up to 800 m in depth is located. The most northern island of Vanuatu is the island of Hi in Group Torres. He is located in 150 kilometers to the south from the Santa Cruz Islands belonging to the Solomon Islands. Officially, the most southern island of the country is the island Aniatium, however the Republic challenges from New Caledonia more southern islands of Matthew and Hantaran. In terms of geology of the island of Vanuatu, we are young, and their formation happened during four main stages of the volcanic activity caused by the movement of Earth's plates in the region. Structurally, islands of New Hebrides consist mainly of Isvazeni volcanic breed. maternal breed, basalt, andesites, volcanoclastic deposits and limestone. The islands of Vanuatu began to be formed during an era of a Miocene. The islands of Espiritu Santo, Molecula and Torres appeared about 22 million years ago, Mavo and Pentecost, about 4-10 million years ago, other islands of the archipelago, about 2-3 million years ago. At the same time, process of formation of islands continues. Presumably, up to 20% of the modern land of Vanuatu was created during the last 200,000 years. The islands of Api and Tonga in Group Shepherd in the past represented the uniform island cover. Kuwa. The name was borrowed from legends of the islands located to the southeast from Api. However, after a large eruption of the volcano of the same name in 1452, Kuwa was destroyed. Two independent islands and a large caldera of an oval form, 12x6 came, were as a result formed. This eruption, the largest for the last 10,000 years. About 35 km were released into the atmosphere. Volcanic material influenced not only geography and the history of the archipelago New Hebrides, but also made impact on global climate within several years. The history of formation of islands of New Hebrides can be described briefly as follows. The raising of underwater volcanoes which, having reached the surface of the ocean, was originally noted, continued this process. Subsequently, the volcanic activity decreased, the active growth of corals at the edges of volcanoes began. The movement of Earth's plates caused a raising of underwater reefs which became a part of the land. About 20% of a surface of the modern islands of Vanuatu are made by limestone. Then the surface of islands was subjected to an erosion, as a result of which the modern relief of islands was created. However, process of a raising at the present stage didn't end. Annual rise is about 0.5. The islands of Vanuatu are located in a volcanic belt of the Pacific Ocean where the Australian and Pacific Earth's plates face. Because of it, on islands often there are eruptions of volcanoes and tremors, though they seldom reach destructive force. The most known active volcano of Vanuatu is Yajar, located on the island of Tanna. Its height reaches 365 m. Near him there is a lake CV surrounded from all directions with lava valleys and volcanic ash. Yajar is also considered one of the active volcanoes of the world, most available to the person. According to mythological ideas of locals, the volcano is the house of dead spirits, therefore this place is sacred. The extinct volcano of Oba on the island Oba reaches height of 1500 m above sea level. In his 3 craters thermal lakes, the largest of which is the Lake Monaro, are located. On many islands there are underground caves formed as a result of volcanic activity, and an erosion of limestone or ashes. One of the most known caves, Severi, on the island of Effet. Other important aspect of local geology are coastal breeds which are put from the solution cemented to a stone state formed of a carbonate of calcium of shells and plankton. At the same time, not only sand ashore, but also other objects as, for example, various military equipment of an era of World War II on the Cape $1 Million Point to Espiritu Santo hardens. On the islands of Vanuatu there are no large-scale deposits of minerals known to the person, however active geological investigation is conducted. Insignificant gold deposits. First of all, on the island of Espirito Santo and manganese. Till 1988 years it was got on the island of Effet. Meat. The humid tropical climate close to equatorial is characteristic of the majority of the islands of Vanuatu. However, on islands with a mountainous relief there are accurate climatic distinctions depending on height above sea level and influences of trade winds. At low heights, southeast windward sides of islands have typical equatorial climate. The amount of precipitation varies from 2500 to 4000 mm. Northwesterly sides are characterized by tropical climate with 2 seasons in a year. The amount of precipitation usually doesn't exceed 2000 mm. At the height about 500, 600 m in the south and 200, 300 m in the north of the archipelago in highlands, a humid climate with the frequent fogs and rainfall exceeding 5000 mm. From May to October. Winter months. On New Hebrides southeast breezes, therefore sunny days and cool nights are observed blow. From November to April air very damp owing to very frequent and heavy rains. At this time high temperatures and frequent cyclones are observed. Average annual temperature during a rainy season on northern islands is 30 C, during a dry season about 20 C. On the southern islands average annual temperature varies from 29 C to 17 C. In the state capital, the city of Port Vila, the humidity during a rainy season can reach 90%. During a dry season, about 70–74%. The season of heavy rains on all islands of Vanuatu lasts from January to March. Most rainy month in a year February. 20 rainy days. Is the driest months August and September. The average annual amount of precipitation on northeast islands makes about 4000 mm, on southern -2360 mm. Cyclones on islands happen most often in December-March and are formed over the Coral Sea lying to the northwest from Vanuatu. Soils of Vanuatu were created mainly from volcanic breed. High content of volcanic ash is characteristic of most of them. It is accepted to allocate 3 main groups of soils of the country depending on climatic conditions. Ferrolitny soils of southeast islands with a humid climate, Ferrolitny soils of northwest islands with more arid climate, and antique soils of highlands. Then the climate is more damp and then volcanic ash is younger, especially soils are antique. Soils of low heights are very fertile because of the high content of ashes, even despite steady and heavy rains. However, on islands Anaiatium, Eromanga, Effet and Espirito Santo soils are less fertile, as on them the ferrolitny soils formed of old volcanic breeds prevail. On New Hebrides there aren't enough rivers that is connected with location of islands in tropics, porosity of volcanic soils in which rainwater is practically not late. On many islands of Vanuatu the rivers are absent at all. However, to Effet, Espirito Santo, Pentecost and some other islands small water flows which sources are in internal areas of islands meet. Process of formation of local flora and fauna began right after the end of large geological processes on New Hebrides. The most part of plant species and animals who appeared on islands through Papua New Guinea, New Britain and the Solomon Islands come a sort from Indo-Australasia. Seeds of plants were brought on islands thanks to an oceanic current. See migratory birds. A part of birds flight from Australia through New Caledonia. On the islands of Vanuatu it is possible to allocate several zones of a certain vegetation, which variety depends, first of all, on height over ocean level and also substrate. The woods of valleys, mountain forests, the seasonal woods, vegetation on a new volcanic surface, coastal vegetation and secondary vegetation. In mountain forests at the height of 500 Emagaitisa and Nagaplodnik and also Metrosiderosa, Siziuma, Veinmania and other plants grow mainly. The seasonal woods, which are a transitional zone between dry and tropical forests, meet on lee side of islands. Coastal vegetation is presented by mangrove thickets, and the littoral woods, beefwoods, A. pandanus, A. barringtonia, Haritaki. The general total quantity of vascular plants which grow in Vanuatu is about 870 types, 130 of which are endemic. A large number of plants and animals was delivered on islands by the person. For example, a yam, taro, bananas, cycasses, a breadfruit tree, a sugar cane, pigs, dogs and poultry were introduced to New Hebrides by the first settlers. Pineapples, avocado, a papaya, cassavas and a maize were also delivered by the person, but already Europeans from America. The most valuable breeds of trees are the kauri and a sandalwood. The only mammals of Vanuatu are 4 species of flying foxes and 8 species of insectivorous bats, from whom 4 views are either endemics or almost endemics. Long-tailed fruit bat, Notopterus macdonaldi, and flying fox of a look. Pteropus fundatus are vulnerable types, and a Santacrusky fruit bat. Nitamine sancticrucis is considered died out. On the islands of Vanuatu 57 species of land birds live, 7 of which are endemics, 17 species of reptiles, including crocodiles and 2 species of non-poisonous snakes, 71 species of butterflies. From them 5 endemics, 12 species of ants and termites. From them 5 endemic types, 76 species of snails, 57 endemics. Coastal waters are very rich with representatives of sea fauna. On some islands sea turtles lay eggs. At coast of islands Ambae, Ambram, Palma, Pentecost and Molecular swim sharks. Nevertheless, coastal waters are safe for tourists as islands are surrounded with the bordering reefs. In the territory of Vanuatu 1 national park and 106 security and reserve territories is located. The most important of them are the National Park of $1 Million Point, the reserves, Loru and Vath, on the island of Espiritu Santo. The early history of Vanuatu is very badly studied. Archaeological finds demonstrate that islands of this republic were populated with people about 400 years ago. Some found clay crocks can be dated 1300, 1100. According to paleogenetic, representatives of culture of the Lapit which came from Taiwan about 5,000–6,000 years ago reached Vanuatu about 300 years ago.
The island of Espiritu Santo, opened in 1606 by the Spanish seafarer, became the first island of Vanuatu noticed by Europeans. It is from Portugal Pedro Fernandes Queiroz who took the island for a part of the southern earth. Nevertheless, on the islands of Vanuatu any European vessel didn't come subsequently up to 1768, when islands were rediscovered by the French seafarer Louis-Antoine of de Bougainville. In 1774 the Captain James Cook gave islands the name New Hebrides, which was used up to independence of Vanuatu. In 1825 the dealer Peter Dillon found on the island a romanga of a thicket of a sandalwood, which cutting continued till 1830, when there was a skirmish between Polynesian immigrants and indigenous Melanesians.
Within the 1860th years the planters from Australia, New Caledonia, Samoa and Fiji who were in labor in great need promoted prosperity on the islands of Vanuatu of recruitment of locals, with their subsequent transformation into slaves. During blossoming of this of hunting for blackbirds, from English blackbirding, more than a half of adult men worked at foreign plantations. At this time considerable reduction of population of islands was noted. 1879 NN. Mcluco Maclay, whose records and observations played an important role in maintaining traditional culture Vanuatu, subsequently worked at the island of Effet. In the same time on New Hebrides the first Catholic and Protestant missionaries appeared. There arrived also new settlers who were looking for lands where it was possible to break cotton plantations. When the prices of cotton strongly fell, they passed to cultivation of coffee, cocoa, bananas and coconut palms. In the beginning on New Hebrides the majority was made by the British citizens who came on islands from Australia, but with foundation of the Caledonian Company of New Hebrides, in 1882 the French citizens began to prevail. By the end of century the French population surpassed British twice. Both France and Great Britain had interests in this region, therefore there was a question: someone has to possess islands. In 1885 France wanted to receive New Hebrides in exchange for separate concessions of Britain. However, the British Empire refused to accept this offer because of a protest from all Australian colonies except New South Wales. In 1887 the convention according to which on New Hebrides the Anglo-French Naval Commission was established was signed. Commanders of the British and French warships of the Novigorodski station, with assistance of 2 officers from each of the parties, serially sat at her. Subsequently this commission began to bear responsibility for protection of lives and the property of the British and French population on New Hebrides. Nevertheless, the Commission had no right to interfere with land disputes. On August 9, 1889 the settlement of Port Vila became the independent Republic Franceville. It became the first state in which universal suffrage irrespective of a floor and race was entered, though only representatives of white race could hold government positions. This commune not for long existed. In June 1890 it practically stopped the existence. In 1906 the agreement under which New Hebrides appeared joint possession of France and Britain, condominium, was reached. Subsequently the unique form of government was created. Separate colonial governing bodies, only the General Court. Melanesians, indigenous people of New Hebrides, were deprived of the right of obtaining nationality of both mother countries. Changes in form of government began in the early 40s when on islands the first nationalist organizations began to appear.
The first political party appeared only in the early 70s, and the National Party of New Hebrides received the name the Father Walter Lini.
Subsequently, the Prime Minister of Vanuatu became one of its founders. In 1974, the party was renamed into Vanuatu HIstory. Fight for independence of New Hebrides became the main direction to activity. Independence was acquired on July 30, 1980, and the country received the name the Republic of Vanuatu. For 4 years after signing of the Convention of 1906 on creation of condominium on New Hebrides, there was no administrative division, and consideration of various affairs with participation of Melanesians was carried out not by the General Court, but the Naval Commission. In 1911, the first steps were taken for carrying out administrative reform. As a result, in 1912, representatives of resident commissioners were appointed to some islands of New Hebrides, except for the island of Effet, who monitored employment, considered various complaints from the population. The British representatives were directed to the islands of Tana and Espirito Santo, French, to the islands of Molecula and Pentecost.
In 1985, the next administrative reform, which result was an abolition of 4 districts and formation of 11 island councils, was undertaken.
Since 1994, the Republic of Vanuatu is divided into 6 provinces. Names of provinces are formed of the first syllables or letters of the main islands which are a part of the province. Population 234,023 people. 2009.
Population density 19.20 people/km.
2009. Middle-aged general. 23. 9. 2009. Men. 25.5. 2009. Women. 22.5. 2009. Age structure 0-14. 38.9%. 2009. 15-60. 55.2%. 2009. 60 is more senior, 5.9%. 2009. Share of urban population of 24.4%. 2009. Birth rate. General coefficient of fertility of 2.63 per mil. 2007. General coefficient of birth rate of 22.35 per mil. 2007. Mortality. Infantile mortality is at 100. Given rise. Age till 1 year. 52. 45 per mil. 2007. Child mortality. From 1 to 4 years. Of now.
According to a census of 1999, the population of Vanuatu was 186,678 man.
By 2009, this number increased to people. Census. At the same time, in the state capital, the city of Port Vila, lived 44040 man. About 2/3 of the population of Vanuatu live on 4 main islands of the Republic. Effet, where there is a capital, the city of Port Vila. Espirito Santo,
where there is the second largest city of the country, Luganville minus people.
Nalkal and Tafi. The most part of the population lives on the coast or near them. The internal areas of large islands covered with dense thickets are usually uninhabited. According to a census of 2009 of the man-made 119,090 people, 50.89%. Women minus 114,933 people, 49.11%. The share of urban population as of 2009 made 57207 people, 24.4%. Rural minus 176,816 people, 75.6%.
In recent years led limited economic opportunities in rural areas in combination with very low income level and the increasing differentiation in income between the city and the village to increase in inflow of the population to the main towns of the country, Port Vila and Luganville.
In 2009 the average annual growth rate of the population was 2.3%.
As a result, according to forecasts, by 2029 the population of Vanuatu will increase up to man.
These indicators strongly contrast with indicators of the 19th century when, as a result of colonial policy of Europeans, they delivered diseases. A pandemic population of Vanuatu was reduced from nearly 1 million people to less than 41,000.
Some islands, for example Anaiatium and Eromanga, lost more than 95% of the population during this period of history of the country. The share of children up to 14 years in 2009 made people
38.9%.
Adult population from 15 to 60 years minus people
55.2%. 60 years minus people 5.9%. Or more senior. Average life expectancy of men in 1999 made 65.6 years, women minus 69 years. The boy blonde Vanuatu. A fair hair is not result of a mutation, but the mutation which was fixed during some period of isolation, similar to that which was fixed at Northern Europeans.
On ethnic structure of 94% of the population of the country Aboriginals of Vanuatu, Vanuatu make
the others. 4% Europeans, 2% other people of Oceania and Asia.
In Vanuatu there is also a small Chinese community which is generally presented by dealers, and also the Vietnamese community consisting of descendants of unskilled workers who in the past worked at local plantations.
The first group of workers from Tonkin, in northern part of Vietnam, arrived to New Hebrides in 1920.
As a result, by the end of World War II on islands about 2,500 Vietnamese, from whom in 1945 only 550 people home were repatriated, lived already. In Vanuatu 3 state languages: English, French and Abislama.
Creole language mainly on the basis of English. Speaking on Abislam as the native language minus 6,200 people, generally in the capital of Port Vila and in the city of Luganville. At the same time the most part of residents of the country understands quantity.
Also Abislama, it is widespread in New Caledonia.
Besides these official languages, still there are 109 local languages.
In different sources the figure considerably varies because of the difficulties connected with distinction of dialects and separate languages, and also because of continuous extinction of radical languages.
The average of carriers of one language makes 2,000 people. All of them enter into Austronesisti family of languages. A considerable part of radical languages is under the threat of disappearance.
The highest concentration of languages on the islands of Espiritu Santo and Mayocal.
About 24 languages on everyone.
The languages of islands Anaitium, Tan and Eromanga, which are a part of the province Tafi, are considerably isolated from other languages of the country and are close to languages of New Caledonia. Besides the Melanesian languages in Vanuatu, there are also 3 Polynesian languages:
Chokphaila, Fortuna and Event. They were created as a result of reverse migration of Polynesians from East Polynesia. The most widespread radical languages are Araga, 7,000 carriers; Ileniket, 6,500 carriers; Ipama, 6,000. In bulk Erliachin, 6,000. East, 5,000. Western, 4,500. Anapma, 4,500. And the southern effort, 3,750. In the 20th century, for application at once, several of them created a voicular writing. The first Christian missionaries on New Hebrides appeared in the 19th century, however throughout very long time their activity was ineffective, and life of religious teachers was dangerous.
For example, the famous missionary from the London Missionary Society John Williams was killed and eaten by locals of the island Eromanga. Only to the middle of the 20th century the Christianity became the dominating religion among the Melanesian population of New Hebrides.
Besides Christian teachings in Vanuatu, the cargo cult which arose on islands in the years of World War II and found on the islands of Tana, Molecula and Espiritu Santo was widely adopted. The most known of them is John Froome's movement on the island of Tana, and also the movement of Prince Philip on the island of Tana, and in worship Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh. Before emergence on islands of Christian missionaries on New Hebrides, the animism which traces are noticeable also in modern religion, which in fact represents a texture of traditional beliefs in spirits and Christian belief practiced. During the colonial period, the religion and education were closely interconnected with each other, and writing of the majority of local languages was developed by Christian missionaries. However, and in modern society the religion plays very important role. Even the national motto says, Long God Yumi Stanap. In translation from language of Abislam, we stand behind God. As of 2009, the share of Presbyterians made 28%, Anglicans -15%, the Roman Catholics -12%, Seventh-day Adventist Church -12%, adherents of other Christian directions -13%, local beliefs, including adherents of a cult of a cargo, -5%. Vanuatu, the sovereign unitary democratic republic. The Constitution adopted on July 30, 1980 establishes the republican form of government with the Westminster system of parliamentarism.
Legislature of the country is the unicameral parliament consisting of 52 deputies and elected for a 4-year term.
Deputies are elected on the basis of universal suffrage through an electoral system which includes elements of proportional representation. All citizens of Vanuatu who reach 25 years have election rights in deputies of parliament. On the first ambassador of elections, a meeting members of parliament elect the speaker and his deputy.
The parliament can be dismissed according to the decision made by absolute majority of parliament at a special meeting at which there was not less.
All deputies. Exactly in 1 week prior to pronouncement of this decision, the parliament has to warn the speaker.
Also, the president of Vanuatu, who makes the relevant decision in coordination with Council of Ministers, has rights of dissolution of parliament.
Early elections are appointed not earlier 30 and not later than 60 days after day of dissolution of parliament.
The Parliament of Vanuatu is given the right of the publication of laws by means of adoption of the bills submitted by one or several ministers of the country and also the Prime Minister. After approval of the bill by Parliament, it is sent for consideration to the President of Vanuatu, who has to sign the bill within 2 weeks.
If the President considers that the bill approved by Parliament contradicts the Constitution, he can appeal to the Supreme Court Vanuatu. Vanuatu, the parliamentary republic headed by the President who doesn't possess the real power. It has chosen the Electoral College, which consists of members of Parliament and chairmen of regional councils. The candidate who received 2/3 votes is considered the electee. A term of office of the President -5 years.
The President can be displaced from a post in case of illegal behavior and for health reasons, and also at the initiative of 1/3 electoral colleges, supported subsequently at a meeting at which was present.
Electors and chairmen of local councils. From a position has to vote for discharge of the President 2/3 from number of the electors who were present at this meeting.
The President has rights of pardon, mitigation of punishment, or the adjudication pronounced to the person who committed a crime.
The President also has to watch that the laws adopted by Parliament don't contradict the Constitution. From August 16, 2004 to August 16, 2009, Kalkat Mataskali Kelly, the lawyer from Port Vila, was the President of the country. On September 2, 2009, Iolua Bill is elected the President of Vanuatu. Since September 22, 2014, the position of the President is held by Baldwin Lonsdale.
After his sudden death on June 17, 2017, Esmond Simon became a duty of the President temporarily as Paliushi.
On July 6, Alice Moses was elected the President. Executive power is in hands of the Prime Minister of Vanuatu and Council of Ministers. The Council of Ministers consists of the Prime Minister and other ministers whose number shouldn't exceed 1/4 apart from the total number of deputies of Parliament. The Prime Minister heading the government is elected by a majority vote members of Parliament at a regular session at presence. Deputies. Now the Prime Minister of the country is Charlotte Salve, the Namanji Oti party leader. Ministers are appointed the Prime Minister from among deputies of Parliament. They can be displaced by him from a position. The Council of Ministers bears collective responsibility before Parliament of the country. The judicial system of Vanuatu is presented by Court of Appeal, the Supreme Court, Magistrates' Courts and Island Vessels. The Supreme Court of Vanuatu, Court of First Instance in consideration of criminal and civil cases. It consists of the Chairman of the Supreme Court and 2 other judges. The chairman of the Supreme Court is appointed the President of Vanuatu after consultation with the Prime Minister and the Leader of Opposition.
The person who did practical training in the territory of Vanuatu as the lawyer can only become the chairman.
All other judges are also appointed the President on representation of legal proceedings to the Commission. English Judicial Service Commission. 2 or more judges of the Supreme Court make Court of Appeal. The majority of standard legal issues is resolved by magistrates' courts. The Constitution also provides creation of the rural and island vessels dealing with issues of common law, including permission of land disputes. Electoral rights allocate all citizens of Vanuatu who reached 18 years. Vote isn't obligatory. The Republic of Vanuatu is divided into 17 constituencies. Depending on the size, the district is represented from 1 to 7 deputies. In Vanuatu, customs still play an important role in political life of the country. Manifestation of it is the National Council of Elders known as Malvatu Mori.
The National Council of Elders is the constitutional body consisting of the traditional leaders elected equal among the state as the people sitting at county councils of leaders. This council has the general competence on discussion of all questions connected with customs and traditions of the country and advises the government of Vanuatu in questions of culture and language.
However, Council doesn't possess any legislature, and represents advisory body in questions of culture. Besides national political structures in Vanuatu, there are 6 provincial government councils. Each council consists of several appointed and chosen dicks. Provincial councils have rights to issue laws, including about taxation, within a certain province. In Vanuatu there is no settled party system, and many existing parties have no official ideology and a political program. In many respects the party Vanuatu system is constructed on language distinction. Parties Anglophones, Vanuatu Party, and parties Francophones, the Union of Moderate Parties, stand out clearly. The number of political parties constantly grows in Vanuatu.
The parties which went to parliament often have no opportunity to independently create the government of the power and are forced to work with each other to create the coalition governments.
The largest political parties, Vanuatu Party, the Party of Our Earth, supports socialist economic policy. The National United Party, Social Democratic Party which enjoys the greatest support at English-speaking voters. The Union of Moderate Parties, Conservative Party which enjoys the greatest support at French-speaking voters. In the Republic of Vanuatu there are no permanent armed forces. Nevertheless, in 2005, persons in military age from which suitable for execution of military service people were at the disposal of the Republic.
Constabulary forces which are subdivided into the General Constabulary Forces, Mobile,
English Vanuatu Mobile Force, and C Groups, English Police Maritime Wing, also act in the country. In 2004 in the country 916 crimes were committed. In 1809. From them, The mining identity of the person -287, thefts -457, disorderly conduct -108. The Republic of Vanuatu maintains diplomatic relations with more than 65 countries, including with Russia. Besides, between two countries the visa-free regime is set. Nevertheless, only Australia, China, New Zealand and France have the embassies, representations of the High Commissioner or a mission in the capital of the specific state, in the city of Port Vila. Diplomatic relations between the USSR and Vanuatu were established on June 30, 1986. In December 1991, the Russian Federation is recognized as the right successor of the USSR.
Ambassadors of Russia in the Australian Union in combination, ambassadors in the Republic of Vanuatu.
One of the priority directions of the government of the country is maintenance of economy. For assistance to the financial sphere of Vanuatu joined Asian Development Bank, the International Bank, the International Monetary Fund. The government of the country supports the private enterprises, production cooperatives providing employment of the population and creates conditions for the international investments. Since 1980, the main donor countries in economy of Vanuatu are Australia, Great Britain, New Zealand and France. Substantial assistance to the country is provided by also various international organizations. Economic and Social Council of the Union across Asia and the Pacific Ocean, Asian Development Bank, DU. The Republic of Vanuatu, the member of the Union, Secretariat of the Pacific Community, the Pacific Islands Forum, the British Commonwealth of Nations, Francophonie, the countries of Africa, the Caribbean region and the Pacific region and other international organizations.
At different times in various sources there were data on recognition in 2011 by the Republic of Vanuatu of Abkhazia as the sovereign state and establishment with her diplomatic relations, and also about the subsequent response of this recognition. On July 13, 2013, the Republic of Vanuatu established the diplomatic and consular relations with Georgia and recognized its territorial integrity. It is possible that the former decision on recognition of independence of Abkhazia at the same time wasn't withdrawn.
Currency of 1 Vatu. Love equals 100 centimes. Statistics. Situation in the world. Judging by PPS. The 182nd. 2005. DDD. PPS. Of $739 million. 2006. DDD growth of 6.8%. 2005 assessment. DDD per capita. PPS. $2,900 of dollar. 2003. Inflation of 2.7%. 2007. Labor 76,410. 1999. Unemployment of 1.7%. 1999. Main branches of the national economy: agriculture, tourism. Trade partners. Export of $40 million. 2006. Main partners. X. Thailand 59.7%, India 16.7%, Japan 11.4%. Import of $156 million. 2006. Main partners. Australia 20.6%, Japan 19.7%, Singapore 12.1%, New Zealand 8.8%, Fiji 7.7%, China 7.4%, New Caledonia 4.3%. State Finance. Budget revenues of $78.7 million. 2005. Expenses of the budget of $72.23 million. 2005. Vanuatu, the underdeveloped island agrarian state. According to 2006, DDD of Vanuatu was $739 million, and DDD per capita according to 2003, $2,900. That did the country by the third in poverty state of the Pacific Ocean. And since 1995, Vanuatu is considered by the Union of one of the least developed countries of the world. At the same time, literacy level in the country was 74%, and probable life expectancy at the birth, only 63 years. National economic growth in Vanuatu very uneven. During the second half of the 1988 years, growth rates of DDD were slowed down. Only in 1989 considerable acceleration was noted. However, already by the end of the 1998 years, economic growth considerably decreased, and in 2001 he had a negative indicator. -0.5%. The external economic help, which makes up to 21% of DDD of the country, began to play a significant role in recent years. Very slow economic development of Vanuatu can be explained with several factors. An unscrupulous of economy which almost completely is based on agriculture. Remoteness from the main world markets of sales of products. Deficiency of minerals. High cost of transportations and frequent natural cataclysms. Besides, in the state and private sectors, the acute shortage of the qualified labor is felt. The main sector of economy of Vanuatu is the state, giving up to 65% DDD of the country. An agriculture share -25%, the industries -10%. Tourism, one of dynamically developing branches of national economy, which is the main source of foreign currency receipts. However, still practically all tourist activity is concentrated in Port Vila. The most part of country people is engaged in natural agriculture, which is characterized by limited cultivation of commodity cultures. The offshore financial center also works in the city of Port Vila. According to 2007, the rate of inflation in the country was 2.7%. Small herd of cows in a northern part of Effet. The livestock production plays an important role in national economy. Vanuatu, the agrarian country. In 2002, the agricultural sector gave up to 25% of DDD of the country. At the same time, 75% of national export of Vanuatu were made by agricultural products, generally copra. 35% of all export. Beef, cocoa, palm oil and wood. Recently, the increasing place in export of the country is taken by extract from kawa's root. From 1.2 million hectares of the earth, 41% are processed.
At the same time, in subsistence economy, about 43% of all agricultural products are produced. In it is engaged up to 80% of able-bodied population Vanuatu. And the livestock production giving up to 12% of all DDD of the country and up to 22% of national export cultivation of cattle of the meat direction prevails.
The livestock of Kius is estimated at 140,000–150,000. The largest cattle breeding possession are located on the islands of Effet and Espirito Santo. In 1992 the most part of beef was taken out to Japan, Papua New Guinea and on the Solomon Islands, and since 1999 and on Fiji. In the last decades in agriculture of Vanuatu there were considerable changes. The plantation sector in which the copra and cocoa is made underwent decline, small owners strongly suffered. At the same time considerable harm to agriculture is done by various wreckers and natural cataclysms.
Maintaining dependence on export of copra in combination with falling of production of cocoa negatively affects economy Vanuatu. Fishing trade, which provides annual income to coastal settlements of 25 million Vatu, provides domestic market with 80 tons of fish a year.
A small amount goes for export. Also cultivation of a trochus. About 100 tons per year. Which goes for export, aquarium small fishes. Mainly on the island of Effet. Is conducted. Replenishment of the state budget is also carried out due to issue to foreign vessels of the license for the right of catch of fish in an exclusive coastal economic zone. Catch of a tuna is carried out by the Japanese, Taiwan and Korean vessels from the middle of the 1950th years. In the International Navigable Register as of 2001 under the flag of Vanuatu 524 vessels floated, 99 of which were fishing.
In general, these vessels annually catch 26,000 tons of fish, from which 60% in waters of the Republic of Kiribati. In 1990, 400 citizens of Vanuatu worked on the Taiwan and Korean vessels. However, by the end of the 1990th years their number fell up to 120 people.
In 1999 length of highways of Vanuatu was 1070 km. From them 256 km were with a hard coating. In the Republic there is no railway transport. National airline is the Air Vanuatu company, making both internal and international air flights to the cities of Auckland. 2 flights a week. Brisbane. 3 flights a week. Sydney. 6 flights a week. Numia and Nadia. Other airlines making flights in Vanuatu are Air Caledoni, Solomon Airlines, Pacific Blue, and Air Pacific. In total in 2007 31 airports worked in the country, but only at 3 of them the runway had a hard coating. Public transport. On license plates of buses there is a letter B. On the majority of islands, there is a taxi. On license plates, the letter T.
The largest ports of the country, Ferrari, Port Vila and Luganville.
A number of Massachusetts media, including AM and FM radio, the weekly newspaper, Vanuatu Weekly, which is issued in 3 languages.
English, French, et Bislama.
And the television channel. Only in the country. Broadcasting in the city of Port Vila are under control of the government Vanuatu. The state, Radio Vanuatu, founded in 1966, also broadcasts in 3 languages.
However, besides the state media in the country there are also private.
The independent daily newspaper Trading Post. The section of letters and sports news on Abislam is published in English. The private weekly newspaper and other newspapers which publish various political parties. Vanuatu, it is connected by cable and telex communication with Hong Kong, Paris, Noumea, New Caledonia, and Sydney, Australia. In 2005 in the country in use was 7,000 home phone numbers and 12,700 mobile phone numbers. In 2004 in Vanuatu 7,500 people used the internet.
Since 2014 it is connected to the internet by an underwater cable, remains an alternative channel satellite.
The Constitution of Vanuatu guarantees freedom of speech and the press, however in practice of media, the belonging oppositions, often lose licenses and are closed. Tourism, the fast-growing sector of economy. In 2000 receipts from tourism made up to 40% of GDP of Vanuatu. The share of the industrial sector in 2000 made only 10%. The main tourist centers, the island of Afit and coastal islands and also Espirito Santo. The most popular types of rest on islands are the diving, fishing in deep waters, a spa procedure, holding weddings and honeymoons. In 2001 the country was visited by tourists, that is 4,000 less than in previous year. Then visited the country, persons. The political instability in Vanuatu became one of the main reasons. However, in recent years inflow of tourists increased, that was result of political crises in Fiji and on the Solomon Islands.
The country is generally visited by tourists from Australia, New Zealand and New Caledonia.
About 50,000 people a year visit Vanuatu during cruise swimming. Citizens of a number of the countries, including the Russian Federation, don't need receipt of a visa for visit Vanuatu.
The cost of the visa to citizens of those countries with whom the visa-free regime isn't set is 2,500 Vatu.
The fee is paid on arrival to the country by cash.
In 2017 volume of export were $207 million, import $244 million.
Export. Not cut frozen fish minus 34%. $70.5 million. Vessels minus 34%. $70 million. A copra minus 8%. $17.2 million. Mollusks. $8.18 million. And also cocoa beans, the wood, coconut oil, etc. Products of crop production. Import. Oil products. $38.8 million. Fall. $6.83 million. Bakery products. $6.72 million. Broadcasting equipment. $6.13 million. And vehicles. $5.4 million. The main trade partners on export are Mauritania minus 34%, Japan minus 32% and Philippines minus 9%.
The main partners in import, China minus 27%, Australia minus 17%, Fiji minus 13% and Malaysia
9.4%. Monetary unit of Vanuatu, Vatu, introduced into circulation in 1983 instead of Novogradski franc. 7 coins face values in 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, 50, 100 Vatu. It is entered in 1988. And also 5 banknotes face values in 100, 200, 500, 1000 and 5000 Vanuatu are in circulation. On the budget for 2001, expenses made, million Vanuatu, and income minus, million Vanuatu. The largest article of an account part of the budget are expenses on S.
Expenses for education made in 2001, million Vanuatu.
A share of costs of healthcare minus 908 million Vanuatu. Among income, receipts from taxes and duties have the greatest value, and the crucial role is played by direct taxes. Important source of replenishment of the budget of the country are also stamps, which attract interest of philatelists from around the world. The internal bank Vanuatu system is presented by 2 foreign and 2 local banks. These banks are objects of supervision from the Reserve Bank of Vanuatu. In addition to Vanuatu, 7 more foreign banks. Till December 31, 2003 in the country, 29 more banks were registered. After obtaining independence of Vanuatu became a fiscal oasis and the international offshore center.
However, in connection with growth of concern of a number of the countries concerning legalization of illegally received money in 2002, the government of Vanuatu increased control over the offshore sector.
Distinctive feature of culture of Vanuatu is a wide regional variety. It is conditionally accepted to allocate 3 cultural regions. Northern region. 2 variations of social and political society in which men and women can, by the public status, are characteristic of it. Leaders on Northern Islands set the status thanks to the system called by Namanki. At which the leader has to get support of spirits by means of sacrifices. The wealth and position of the person is defined by that how many mats and boars he can sacrifice. What more people can offer boars. At the same time, length of canines is estimated. Especially he holds a high position in society. Central region. It is characterized by Polynesian type of society, supremacy of the hereditary leader over all class society consisting of the nobility and community members. This type of society meets on the islands of Futuna, Efira and in the village Chalk on the island of Effet. Southern region. Titles of leaders allocate only certain people. This status gives to them the right for all lands and possession of other social groups. Leaders in Vanuatu are a guarantor of the world and justice. Their role in modern society is still very big. The word of the leader is the law.
The important place in life, Vanuatu is occupied by traditional music and dances which are closely interconnected with each other.
The most popular musical instrument is the tomam, a local kind of a slit drum or a gong. Flutes are widespread. With the advent of Europeans on islands, locals began to use a number of foreign tools. Each ceremony, as a rule, is followed by music. In the 1990s in Vanuatu there was a number of bands, and the most popular musical directions became reggaeton. Annually since 1996 on islands the 6-day festival of modern music, Fest Napia, in which a number of singers and groups of other states of Oceania participates, is held. Traditional dances are very various. In some dancers play roles of various spirits and mythological beings, at the same time using various masks. For example, made of fiber of bananas. Suits and hairstyles. For example, dance from on the island of Ambrim.
A subject of other dances is hunting, life and death.
For example, current on the island of Tana. In terms of archaeology, New Hebrides are studied rather badly, however on a number of islands valuable archaeological artifacts, such as megalithic constructions on the island of Molecular remained. According to the message of the Soviet scientist A.
Kondratov still quite recently on the island the dolmens and menhirs which were considered as shrines among islanders were built.
The leader in certain days could hear in them voices of spirits of great ancestors.
In general, construction of similar constructions was connected with men's ceremonies. They actually played a key role in establishment and maintenance of an asymmetric social relationship between men and women and also between men of different age.
The islands of Vanuatu. First of all, the central and northern islands of the archipelago are also known for the drawings on sand, mainly used in rituals and having various context. The artist, using one finger, draws on sand continuous wavy lines, generally on the directing grid, to create graceful, often symmetric, compositions of geometrical figures. Drawings on sand also serve as mnemonic schemes in which rituals, mythological ideas of islanders, legends and other traditional knowledge of locals are reflected. On a number of islands wood carving to a stone, and on northern islands of the archipelago, on corals is widespread.
The island of Pentecost, the homeland of extreme Vanuatu jumps on a rope which arose from a local ritual under the name
Nigel. Every year between April and June of the man of the island jump from high towers, having tied legs to a grapevine. According to locals, it guarantees a good harvest of a yam. Recently it is a good source of income for islanders. Tourists pay big money to see this show.
Every 3-4 years on the island of Tana there takes place the known 3-day Neko War festival, during which in the past any wars between the being at enmity villages were forbidden.
During this holiday inhabitants give each other generous gifts, dance, the persons decorate with various masks and an exotic makeup, drink the traditional intoxicating drink under the name kav, which is made of roots of a plant of armor. Hypermethisticum. For the second day of a holiday it is accepted to execute dance of current. Toka. Then the sacrifice of boars and exchange of gifts follows. In Vanuatu there is the national team in soccer, and the country is a confederate of soccer of Oceania and FIFA. The first international match with participation of the national team of the Republic of Vanuatu on soccer was held on October 4, 1951, in which lost Vanuatu to the national team of New Zealand with the score 0-9. It became the largest defeat of the national team. The national team of Vanuatu won the largest victory over the national team of the Republic of Kiribati on July 7, 2003 at the South Pacific Games in Fiji with score 18-0. In 1973, 2000 and 2002 the country took the fourth place in the Cup of the Nations of AFE.
In the Internal Football Championship, the main tournament is the first division, which 15-fold champion was a Tafi club.
On islands it is very popular rugby and also cricket. In the country there is the national team in rugby participating in the international matches since December 1, 1966. The national team of Vanuatu suffered the largest defeat on August 20, 2005 from the national team of Papua New Guinea. The first club of cricket on islands was founded in 1945, and in 1978 the Association of Cricket of New Hebrides. After obtaining independence, Association of Cricket of Vanuatu was created. At the Summer Olympic Games the country participates since 1988. Took place in the capital of South Korea, the city of Seoul. The National Olympic Committee of the country was created in 1987. For all history of the participation in the Olympic movement, the Republic of Vanuatu didn't win any medal, and an Olympic team was presented mainly in track and field athletics. The country never participated in the Winter Olympic Games. Holidays: January 1 New Year, February 21 Day of the Father Lini, March 5 Day of Traditional Leaders, Friday before Easter the Good Friday, the next day after Easter Light Monday, May 1 Labor Day, Ascension varies, July 24 Day of Children, July 30 Independence Day, August 15 Rise of the Mother of God, October 5 Constitution Day, November 29 Day of a Unification, December 25 Christmas, December 26 National Day of Family. There is the State Broadcasting Company Streets, Société de Radiodiffusion et de Télévision de Vanuatu, Telebroadcasting Corporation Vanuatu, which includes Television Blanc Vanuatu TV channel and Radio Vanuatu radio station. In the country there are considerable problems in a healthcare system. Though as of 2000 in Vanuatu cases of infection of HIV or AIDS, according to the Ministry of Health of the country, it only a matter of time weren't registered. Such diseases as diarrhea or hepatitis B are widespread.
In the capital of Vanuatu, a large number having diabetes, and their number exceeds the number of patients with malaria.
At the same time, skin diseases, tuberculosis, tropical fever, lymph nodes are widespread. In spite of the fact that measures for fight against malaria are actively undertaken, this disease remains one of the main problems in healthcare. However, in 1999 and 2000 in Vanuatu, any death caused by this disease wasn't registered. Medical care in the country is performed by more than 94 hospitals, clinics and the centers of health, which activity is controlled by the Ministry of Health of Vanuatu. Substantial assistance is provided by World Health Organization. Development of a national education system of Vanuatu is interfered by several factors, key of which are a variety of languages.
100 local languages, 2 state languages and 1 national language, Ibislama.
And the 2-language educational system. In the English and French languages. Inherited from the colonial period. In general, quality of education in Vanuatu very low. In the country there are only 101 elementary schools, which considerable part is in remote areas.
In 2002 the total number of pupils of initial classes made 37470 people, high school minus 9610 people. In many remote regions of Vanuatu, the sharp shortage of teachers, the corresponding equipment and furniture is felt.
At high school and in higher educational institutions also rather low level of teaching. In spite of the fact that primary education in the country free, many families which have very low income are forced to spend considerable funds for transport and other services which are directly connected with study. So in 1989, 74% of children aged from 12 up to 15 years and 80% aged from 16 up to 17 years already left schools without having received qualification, which plays a significant role at employment for good work. They joined ranks of the unemployed.
Senior secondary education is provided in English Language College Malapoa,
Malapoa College, and French Lyceum, Lycée Français, in the city of Port Vila. Incomplete secondary education can also be got at 5 English post-elementary schools and 3 French mission schools. Locals get higher education mainly abroad, in Australia and New Zealand. Though in Port Vila, for example, there is a campus of the Južno-Trukijanski University, College of Teachers, Agricultural School and Institute of Technologies.
In 2002-21, 24 persons with the higher education and 2703 persons with technical and professional education lived in the country.
Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.